the idea is to have a reliable source of power here. So how do you do this? Well, first thing you do is you've got to look at what you have, okay? How do you reduce the cost for everybody? Okay, let's reduce gasoline taxes for everybody in the state of Hawaii. Let's reduce electricity taxes for everybody in the state of Hawaii. Okay, let's produce an additional 400 megawatts for Maui, 500 megawatts for the Big Island of Hawaii, 500 megawatts for Honolulu, and 1,000 megawatts total for the entire island of Oahu. Let's look at Molokai and let's look at Lanai. Make sure each island has 100 megawatts plus available. And this is not difficult to do. There are simple technologies that can be placed either on the cliffs in the wind or actually in between the islands of Molokai and Maui and in between the islands of Lanai and Maui. You can actually place, these are conversion tools that convert the flow of water under the ocean, okay, basically at the ocean's floor. It converts that into power by having a ventori. What it does is it makes a small opening, and the water flows through that very quickly, and the opening is large enough so it doesn't affect fish or anything. It doesn't affect anything. It's just the flow of water based on the tides that moves this. Basically, it's a turbine, and then underneath the ocean, that cable is run back to a main power station on each island, and basically you have an unlimited source of energy that's there, and it's renewable, and all you have to do is replace. There's virtually no moving parts in it, and it's an extraordinarily easy conversion tool to bring a large amount of power. So in addition to that, we have solar, and solar, they're doing different types of solar power, but the idea is to make it as simple and as decentralized as possible so that each facility has enough capacity so that they can go through peak periods of demand and at the same time have a conservative amount of backup support. So what that means is that you have pump water storage facilities that stores the energy by pumping water, by running pumps and pumping water up into a storage pond, and then that pond, then the water runs down through turbines and produces power on off hours. So there are ways to combine these things to do 100% power. I recommend that what we do is we shoot for 200% power to make sure that we not only have the capacity to do this today for what businesses we have today, but we have the capacity to do manufacturing, high-tech manufacturing here in Hawaii. Okay, we also have opportunities here to do things like to use alternative energy sources to produce ethanol instead of gasoline. But in the state of Hawaii, it's actually easier to go to hydrogen-powered vehicles or natural gas-powered vehicles than it is to use ethanol. And ethanol can be a very expensive thing depending on what the fuels are. My understanding is for the power plants that are planned here in Hawaii, they're talking about palm oil, and they have to import the palm oil from countries like Brazil. And what ends up happening is your cost, your feed fuel ends up being extraordinarily expensive, and you end up without the benefit that you really think you need. So what you do is you say, okay, I'm going to require a certain amount of ethanol percentage included in your gasoline. And it could be 15% as an example. And you make a goal of saying, okay, I don't want to just reduce the use of oil by 5%. No, I want to do 40% in the next 5 years. I believe by the end of my first term, I should have 40% ethanol here in the state of Hawaii. And that's a huge amount of money and billions of dollars that the state and other parts of this state would be saving. And the goal is to, again, also do renewables, renewable energies. We need to regreen our forests. We need to put trees back on the islands. The loss of trees and loss of green here on the islands has reduced the amount of rainfall significantly. The amount of endangered species that we have the largest number of endangered species in this nation. The largest number of species in this nation are here in the Hawaiian Islands. and the most diversity that we have. And so when we lose an acre of rainforest, we're losing a heck of a lot more than just the trees and the foliage. We're losing those species and some that are new. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that we get the benefit of that. And that includes making sure we get carbon credits for the regreening of property. That means that brings money here. It means creating pump water storage facilities up on huge ranches like Old Palakua Ranch, where the cattle then would actually have the water that they need, and we can actually reduce the amount of loss of cattle based on the loss of water and the change of weather, because the weather here has gotten warmer, and as a result of that, the amount of rainfall has also been reduced, and you could drive around the islands and you can see how dry things are. And we have brush fires and those things that has an effect of cleaning it out, but at the same time it also has kind of a greenhouse effect. When it burns, it goes up into the atmosphere. When you take the crops out, you take the pineapples out, you take the cane fields out, suddenly you're losing your topsoil all over the place. So I'm a big supporter of the farmers here. I'm a big supporter of every family that wants to have their own family farm. I believe in something called victory farms like they had during World War II, and that meant that every person and every family was recommended to have their own farm in the backyard and produce their own hydroponic plants, their own tomatoes, their own fruits and vegetables. In Hawaii, basically the joke is that if you plant it with a stick, you plant a stick and it's going to grow a tree. It's basically anything you plant here pretty much is going to grow. The idea, though, is, again, we want to make sure that we're consistent. We've done tons of research for everybody else around the world. They've come here and produced tremendous numbers of breakthroughs in different plants, but we need to take advantage of those breakthroughs ourselves and to put the best of the best here and to be very selective about who we work with and what pieces are the most important to the population in terms of producing the nourishment and the organics that is required to keep people healthy here. And that way we reduce our health care costs. Hawaii is very unique. I mean, a Japanese individual here in Hawaii would live, a woman here in Hawaii would live over 80 years, which is the highest in the state, of all the states in the nation, because of all these different things that we have here. So that's my recommendation. So what I'm also saying is that we also get greenhouse gas tradable coupons when we do these things for specific land. Now, each county has land that they're either doing something or not doing something with, and most of it is in a situation where there's an opportunity to convert it. And the key here is water. I mean, in Molokai, the whole issue is water. And how do you get that water to the places that you need to in order to support the farmers and support the people there? And I'm talking about clean water. I mean, here, we don't have fluoride in our water here, and that's why a lot of people here have teeth problems. These are issues that have to be looked at, and the people have to look very specifically at what crops we're growing, what the diets are the people here are eating, and are we producing the right crops. We have 95% of our food comes in by ship today, and that's an unacceptable thing. I mean, if I walk into a store today and I want to buy a papaya or I want to buy a guava, I want to make sure that it's a Hawaiian papaya and a Hawaiian guava. And I mean, it's just because it's important to create that infrastructure here and to take advantage of the God's gifts that we have here in Hawaii. By doing this, what we're doing is, from an environmental point of view, we're creating green jobs, and this creates a Hawaiian economy and improves the environment that we all live in. The purity of the water is paramount. We need tougher regulation on emissions standards, and that's both in the water and in the air. And what we're talking about there is there are portions of the island where you basically can swim, but you know that the fluid effluent that comes there when there's rainfall, you may not want to be in that water. The idea here is to promote tourism, to make people confident that the water that they're in is clean. I mean, we're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean here. We have the greatest opportunity of the world. The ocean gives us many, many opportunities to do this. Let's do this the right way. And that means starting with, don't be overfishing the surrounding waters. The waters that we do have and the fish that we do have, we need to create fish reservoirs and actually to reintroduce those fish in so that we have a larger population there, so that the fishermen don't have to worry that they're depleting. And how this is obvious is because the number of fish and the size of fish has been diminishing over the last few years, and actually it's been happening for quite a while. So I want to preserve the wilderness and the wildness of Hawaii. I want to have when you go mountaineering, I want to make sure that you're mountaineering in, rough terrain and in rough jungles, and for people to experience the aina of Hawaii, the life of Hawaii. And these are the things that the Hawaiians are fiercely protective of, and I support them wholly in their family values and their aim to support and to keep the aina of Hawaii. Desalination plants are key, and again, all desalination plant is a plant that takes seawater and converts it into fresh water, drinkable water. There are new water sources that are available in the billions of gallons, but again, these are resources that have been developed over a long period of time, and that can also be polluted based on what crops and what fertilizers are used above these individual water sources. So the goal here is to produce a water supply which is consistent and stable, and where we're not reliant solely on the rainfall, because the rainfall has been reduced. If you look at EL Valley, you'll see Waimea Valley, these valleys, the amount of rainfall has been much lower than in the past. So clean water, strong water treatment, the best people in the world looking at issues like chlorination, stop overfishing of the oceans, fish farming, park development here in Hawaii, and issuing new bonds as required to do that, preserving our natural resources here in Hawaii for the future and for our kids. As far as the government is concerned, I want to make the EPA a cabinet-level department within the U.S. government. I am a strong supporter of land trusts, where they basically allocate land and set it aside, basically to preserve that land and to be untouched here. Green is everything. Regreening of Hawaii, regreening the road to Hana, regreening most places in Hawaii. And the reason why you want to do that is because if you don't regreen, you don't get the rainfall. And you need the rainfall. It's a cycle. It has to be in place. The green evaporation off of the plants has to be in place in order to increase the amount of rainfall that we're getting here. When I first came to Hawaii, there was rain every day. And it happened in the middle of the day, and it happened at the end of the day. And today, you're lucky if you see it, once a week. And that's just not acceptable, because that rainfall is the life and the aina of Hawaii. In order to produce crops, the word crops is a general thing, but crops can be flowers, crops can be a lot of different things here in Hawaii. And we have some of the most beautiful flowers and the most beautiful crops that exist on the planet. And these are high dollar, high value crops. And we have the opportunity to export to every state of the nation. What's happened is the local and small businesses need strong support in order to make all this happen. Okay, families and children is another one of my strong issues, and that is I want to support every family and every child in the state of Hawaii. And what that means is I support workers' flex time and unpaid family leave. What does that mean? That means if a woman is pregnant, she can stay home with her family. Okay? What does it mean? I want parents to be active with their kids, and I want basically to have